So I recently bought a time-lapse camera, or actually two of them, and with that came some batteries. The camera takes 4 AA batteries each, and I also got some backups. One thing I noticed is that there's a substantial difference in the amount of packaging between the batteries that came with the time-lapse camera and the batteries I bought. Now, I didn't do a perfect job with getting these separated, but for these batteries, let's see, there is 2.9 grams of plastic and 3.5 grams of paper. Now, these other batteries, and like I realize that these don't have any like outwardly facing packaging on them, like labels or anything like that on the packaging, but there's no reason that this plastic couldn't be like labeled plastic that is then shrink wrapped around it. So this has an imperceptibly light amount of paper, and also an 0.2 grams of plastic for admittedly half the batteries, but that's what I have this for. And this isn't the only option now to package batteries. Probably about 10 years ago, and I really don't know how long ago, it's been a while, it just shows you how slowly we've been going through batteries. We got some AA batteries from an IKEA in Canada, and to give you an idea how old they are, they expired in 2017, but they still work. And that, for 10 batteries, has 6.4 grams of paper. And I don't remember how it was originally packaged. My impression was that this was all the packaging. There wasn't like a plastic coating on the outside of this, but I'm not entirely sure about that. So a little bit of calculating later, and you can see that per battery, because each of these held a different amount of batteries, this one held 10, this one held 4, and this one held 8, so I had to calculate those out. Per battery, this kind of what I call more traditional, at least what I've seen in the US style selling batteries, and actually in a way it's even less material, because normally they'll just be like a long strip and it will be like individual row, whereas this is a double row, so it's better per volume. And then this one, which is also like a US based, but inside a product where it doesn't need to have the advertising. And as I was saying, I don't think that that really needs to be all that, like, there's no reason that that couldn't have like a shrink wrap around it with like colored plastic. And that's by far the lightest. It does have plastic, whereas this the IKEA one doesn't have plastic, but you have to decide whether you are going for like a zero plastic approach or just a really low weight of packaging, because the added thing is that every additional amount of packaging weight is more material you have to ship, which is additional to the life cycle costs. And I'm aware that there's some debate over whether plastic versus paper, which is really better, at least in the shopping bag community. There's advantages and disadvantages to both of them. I don't know fully enough. And so this IKEA one's a lot more than this, just the little like thin plastic sheeting around it. But it is entirely like a paper product. And so that could have advantages, whereas this like traditional US one is by far the most, with 0.8 grams of packaging per battery total, and a decent amount of that is plastic. So here's the plastic on this side, the paper, and so I'm not sure which is necessarily the best between these two, but this is clearly the worst. I just wish that a lot of people would think about the packaging in terms of like waste and that sort of stuff, because like this we could throw in the burn pile, but this, it's basically got to be thrown away. It's really too small to go in the recycling. And just that, like, you can make packaging that doesn't require as much material. Yeah, it might not be like the traditional way that people are used to seeing something, but it's possible. Well, cleaning up, I thought of an advantage of this is that this works as like a storage case for the batteries for a while, and this kind of works. And yeah, if you open it up like through this, the hatches, it's like designed to be, it works better, but it still mostly works. But these, yeah, those don't work for long-term storage or any storage after you use them. So that is an advantage of this and kind of this, but this definitely works the best. It's like when you open it up, it still fully functions as storage.